What's up, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Casters of Horror. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane, and this week we're spending our last shift in the cult of Malum.
Malum.
Indeed. Yes, that is about the pacing of this movie.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump on into this film. Malum came out. When did it come out? Did it come out this year?
Yeah, it's a 2023 film. Yep.
2023 film. My brain just got totally whatever. I lost a lot of hair, I think, is what the deal was. It was written and directed by Anthony DeBlasi, who was actually a protege of Clive Barker, believe it or not. He also the film Dread, Last Shift, which is kind of ironic. He also produced, executive producer on The Midnight Meat Train, which I know you guys have watched. Anyway, this film takes place in a police station for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It starts out where we see a cop and how do we want to say this starts? We kind of see this cult and there's these women and they're being like forced into this cult. And they're being held captive against their will, I guess you would say, it seems.
Yeah. Well, it seems like they were willing participants until they found out what they were actually there for, and then they were no longer willing.
Yeah. Then cops step in. We see that they have apprehended and taken, and we're not quite for sure. Did they? I don't remember if they said that they killed the leader, the cult leader, at the beginning, or we at least know that he was apprehended. Some of the girls had died. 3 of them were recovered, brought home to their families. And the cop who was the captain who was kind of heading this whole operation and everything, he ends up losing it.
Yes.
And goes off and just kills everybody in the police station.
Yeah.
Well, almost everybody, including himself.
He kills at least several of his fellow police officers.
Which, to me, that was probably the biggest scare of the whole. I mean, like, turn of events in this whole movie was right at the beginning. I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Because it just came out of nowhere. But and then we jump to a year later, and now his daughter's a cop, and it's her first night on the job, and she's back in the old police station where he used to work doing the overnight shift.
Yeah. And the setup being that the setup being that this is the old station and everything is basically being transferred over to a new one, but since they still have some stuff there, they still need like someone to stay there and watch it.
So and people have been rioting in the streets, old cult members and people who think that the cops did wrong. They're rioting in the streets and protesting about this so-called cult. Anyway, the police station turns out to be a little bit more occupied than it seems. In the beginning, and her unknown past comes to haunt her in many various ways. Did that kind of sum it up? Did you think,
without getting too spoilery, I think she's connected to the cult, in a way that she didn't know about. I guess is basically. And so and so stuff had happened at this station, and
she's trying to unravel the reasons why she's connected to it the
Yeah.
ways her father was connected to it and why it became so violent
Yeah.
in
Suddenly.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, suddenly violent. So pros and cons on this movie. I thought it was filmed pretty well. I thought the
Oh yeah.
acting wasn't the greatest.
It had its moments.
It
There were certain
had its moments, yeah.
yeah.
Um, I predicted most of the jump scares.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were kind of seen a mile away. The, there was, and I texted you this while I was watching it. There were so many inconsistencies. I'm like, how is it she has a car on her first night, a cop car
Yeah.
on her first
Yeah.
night, and she has a gun and she's left to herself, and there's nobody there with her, and nobody at any of the stations knows who she is. I'm like, come on, if you're a
Yeah.
cop, they're gonna follow through a little bit better than this.
Yeah.
Just saying. So anyway, there was some things that I found kind of, it kind of took me out of the experience, if you will.
Yeah.
But for the most part, um, it kept me intrigued, at least
Yeah.
wanting to know what was going to happen next. Um, what were your thoughts on it? What overview, full broad
I mean,
strokes of the brush?
broad strokes, I thought it was fine. I mean, I don't feel like I wasted my time. You know, there were parts of it I liked. I think it had some decent, unsettling moments. You know, for a horror film, some okay, you know, gore. I guess it depends on what you're after.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
No, they did. It looked to be all practical. Yeah, practical effects. It looked to be.
yeah, at least it looked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
I, I didn't dislike it. My issue with this movie is it's the most unnecessary movie I've ever watched,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I say that because if you don't know, this is a remake of this writer and director's own movie, Last Shift.
Oh, is it that I
Yeah,
mentioned? Okay.
yeah. That's why I opened the episode. We spend our last shift. Yeah,
Okay. Which
this is a
when I
remake.
said the last shift, I was like, oh, that's kind of ironic. Ha 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 ha.
Well,
See how much
planned.
I knew about it.
Yeah. No, yeah, this is a remake of Last Shift, which, you know, was a movie that he made. I think it was a 2012 film. Low budget. This one, Malum goes quite a bit more into the cult itself and like the backstory and kind of delves deeper into their beliefs and what they're doing. You know, I don't think Heyman is mentioned once in Last Shift. I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
basically the same setup, and a lot of it is scene for scene,
Really.
the exact same. Yeah,
Hmm.
some changes in you know, like what exactly happened to her father, and then the ending is actually completely different. Um,
Oh, is it?
yeah, this is a
Man,
movie
I might
that
like the
is
last shift better then.
uh, this it's weird because this is one of those films where like I think there's benefit to having seen them both. And I almost think that they would be fine viewing them as a pair. Ultimately, I think Last Shift is better,
Huh.
despite it not giving in. I would argue like the Last Shift doesn't go far enough in telling what's going on,
Yeah.
but Malum takes it too far to the point of almost like ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, for being maybe it was the fact that Last Shift was lower budget that gives it some of its horror charm. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a scarier movie. You know, it's
That
I,
Malum is scarier?
no, I think that Last Shift is scarier,
Oh, okay.
but it
Okay.
may be the lack of budget that that did that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, this was one that you were like, "Hey, we should check this one out." And then
Yeah,
I remember you
yeah,
saying, "Had you ever seen The Last Shift?" And I was like, "No, no, I haven't." Now that you mention it, now
yeah,
yeah, no, I had not. I Man, when this movie started, the first half an hour of it, I was like, does this get any better?
Yeah.
Um, I had a really big time struggle with it. And then I kind of started getting into it. I started getting into the backstory and all this sort of stuff. And then probably the last 5 minutes, it all kind of fell apart for me. It
Yeah.
just it
Yeah.
just kind of goes meh, and then takes the easy way out.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh man, it fell apart for me in the last few
Yeah.
minutes, which sucked.
And see,
But
and I would argue that I guess it could be argued that Last Shift kind of did that too, but it does it in a different way. And
okay,
and see too with Last Shift, I actually predicted the ending of Last Shift. I thought it was blatantly obvious what was happening,
okay,
and so I that kind of bothered me. Yeah, but I actually don't know. I think I kind of prefer the ending to Last Shift, but I also like the way that this one delved deeper into the cult because in Last Shift, yeah, okay, the cult is there, and there's something spooky going on,
yeah,
in this station. So it was nice to get more information. I just think that they
yeah.
took it maybe a little too far.
And see, I could
So,
have used more of the cult lore
hmm
into
yeah,
this story and more of the ominous stuff about the cult rather than just the cult just being like, we're the cult.
yeah,
Every once in a while, it's just like, we're the cult. I mean, they're not saying we're the cult, but, it's just like they
but
just
they might as
show up.
well.
Yeah, they just kind of show up and they're just like, and it's like, if the danger was there a little bit more, if it seemed like it was like there was more of these uh more of how it all kind of tied together a little
Yeah,
bit better. I think there was a lot of parts that were just kind of left loose.
a lot of it felt very
And
convenient. you
yeah, it
so
was. It was, yeah, that's a good word for it. It was very convenient.
convenient or
Um,
way too like they were able to set up way too much. As far
yeah,
as like the cult itself was able
yeah,
to do way more than
yeah. Then you
because
think that they
in this
should.
film it's almost like they've practically taken over the town.
Oh
It
yeah,
seems,
oh
you
yeah.
know.
They've taken over everything. Like everybody's like afraid of them, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's wild the way that went.
yeah,
Um, the ending to me was just it was I mean, I get it. And when it comes to being at this point where you're so overwhelmed by what you think is just insanity and all this sort of stuff, I can see the easy way out
yeah.
for some of these things. But man, it's like I want to talk about and I want to spoil the end, but it's like I
Yeah.
don't want to all at the same time. Um, so anyway, yeah. So
I I guess
it just
here's what I would say. If you liked Last Shift, uh, you may or may not like this one. I personally don't think this one is as good. If you did not like this movie, don't judge Last Shift based on it.
okay.
There are things that this one does better and things that it does not. So I don't know. I guess that's my final take on it. I prefer Last Shift, even though I didn't hate this movie. I thought it was fine and completely unnecessary. That's it.
Yeah.
Fine, but unnecessary.
Yeah.
So
Um yeah, I'm kind of there with you. Fine, but
yeah,
unnecessary. Was it a waste of my time?
yeah,
I didn't have anything else going. I've been recovering from surgery. So
yeah,
it's like, what
yeah,
else was I gonna do? There were some aspects of it that I didn't care for.
yeah,
Just because a lot of them hit. There was a lot of this movie that hit close to home for me.
yeah,
But anyway, there was. Yeah, it's just kind of there. It's a there movie. Um, it wasn't phenomenal. It wasn't horrible. I mean,
yeah.
it's just. I mean, it was enough to keep me intrigued to
Yeah.
want to find out what happened at the end. There's a lot of other movies that we've watched on this podcast where I'm just like, I don't want to finish
Yeah,
this.
ready for it to be over. Yeah, this
Yeah.
was this was a trope heavy film. I mean, if you
Oh
like
yeah.
horror, honestly, if you like horror films, I really don't. I didn't find anything overtly like offensive about this one as far as
No.
horror goes.
No,
You know,
I think
it's
this
fine.
one's fine enough for anybody.
Yeah,
It just wasn't great.
yeah,
Um but it was I guess I would say it was good,
yeah.
and that's as far as I'm going to leave it. If I had to rank these, I'd put it right here.
Right? Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good place for it.
I put it right there.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't know where that is, because the bottom could be my top, the top could be my top. Who knows? I'll put it right there. So anyway, let us know what you guys thought of the film. If you guys have seen it, if you guys have checked it out, put it down in the comments down below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit like and subscribe while you are there. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. We hit a good milestone
Yeah.
recently.
100
So,
subs.
yeah, thank you to YouTube for shouting us out recently as well. So, for that milestone. So, yeah, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let us know if there's any films that you guys want us to check out as well, things that have come up recently or are coming up that you want to get our take on, or if you just want us to shut up, you can put that down in the comments down below too. So anyway, until next week, people, I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane,
Get
and
the
we'll
hell
see
out of
you.
here. We'll see you guys.